Not sure how this is going to go, but I am going to give it a go anyway. I would love to be a writer, and what that means is I need to start writing. So at the weekend I wrote a piece for Substack, which I'm really loving being on there for a community. And yesterday was around navigating life, love, lessons, and it was based on the anniversary of Dad's passing, which is 21 years today. And I don't think I can do this without reading, so I'm just going to read it as it is. So today marks the 21st anniversary of Dad's passing, the day before my 32nd birthday. And this is where Walking Without the Map began. A short yet horrific journey with bowel cancer. I look back and think of the dates, the 23rd of March to the 11th of May 2005. The time that he went into hospital and he never came home. Mum and Dad had never travelled abroad, although I recall them talking a lot about going to the Seychelles. We didn't know at the time, but Dad was terminally ill. For one, he was on a medical ward, which we were seeing people coming in, being operated on and being discharged, whilst all the time Dad became more in pain and less mobile. They sorted out their passports whilst Dad was in hospital, as it was the first thing that they were going to do when he got out, book and go on that trip to the Seychelles. The day we were given his diagnosis, he was too ill to go into the office that we'd been called into, a meeting not with a consultant but with their understudy. I remember asking Dad if we were to get a wheelchair for him, but he said, "No, lass, you go, let me know what they say." We were told that he had tumours and something didn't feel right with the way that we were being told, so I asked the question, "So these tumours, are they benign or are they malignant?" And the response came in a form of a tap on the shoulder and, "Oh yes, dear, your dad has cancer." My recollection is that was the first time that we heard that he had cancer, or even hearing the word. I asked if Dad knew or if he'd been told, and as the flippant way that we'd been told didn't sit right with me, so I shared the news with my dad. I sat in the big hospital chair next to the bed and said, "Dad, it's cancer," to which he responded, "I thought as much, lass." Dad had a stoma fitted to make him more comfortable. He was moved into a side ward of the medical ward and stayed there until we managed to get him into hospice for what was to be his final day earthside. Although totally immobile, as the cancer had spread throughout his body and his spine had collapsed, he would come out of unconsciousness, sit up and say to Mum, "Come on, Jen, get the car, we're off home," and then would just collapse back down onto the bed, supported by high pain relief. Experiences like this fully confirm my belief and knowing that we are indeed more than a meat suit. Always have been, always will be. It's the vehicle that temporarily houses the soul. And then years later, something happened that made me stop in my tracks. There was a knock at the door and I could hear Rich saying to whoever it was that John Butler didn't live here, but I was called down to the door. A recorded delivery letter arrived at our house addressed to John Butler on Abbeydale Road in Sheffield. My dad's name, John Butler. Dad had never been to Sheffield. This letter arrived on the anniversary of his passing, the 11th of May 2022. The postwoman was keen for us to take it, and I said I would open it in front of her and make sure that it got to the rightful recipient. Inside was a blank cheque and a letter with profound thanks for the spiritual teachings, signed, "With you always in spirit." You can't make this stuff up. I later found the intended recipient, a spiritual teacher, also called John Butler, and also a farming stock from Lincolnshire. You really cannot make this stuff up. For me, this was a certainty, a message from Dad saying, "Hello, lass, still here." Skipping back to the end of Dad's life, and that even before he passed, Mum and I had beds next to him in the hospice. Mum was next to him and I was opposite. Hearing the death rattle throughout the night, I knew he didn't have much longer, and I'd say to him, "Don't you dare die on my birthday." He didn't make it to the 12th of May. It was 11 a.m. on the 11th of May, 2005. Mum sat in the big chair, me on the arm of the right and my sister on the left. I remember him taking his last breath and responded in a way that can only be described as primal. A guttural, helpless scream of, "No!" I can't do it how I did it because that's going to set me off. He'd gone. His earthly days had come to an end. We noticed a couple of pigeons at the patio doors and smiled. Dad kept racing pigeons. We said it was two of his close friends who'd already passed coming to get him. After he died, Mum, Paula and I were talking about the experience. Mum felt a presence on her back. I felt my right arm squeezed and my sister her left. We loved to believe that he was behind us, giving us one final human hug, saying goodbye and sharing that we'd be all okay. That moment gave so much to me, confirming the knowing, the feeling, the sense that we are indeed more than a meat suit. Our time here is fleeting. This is where my very I can't see the words. This is where my very frequent saying comes from, and the title of this writing, "None of us are guaranteed tomorrow as we know it today." Not to scare, but said with love. Sometimes I'll say to clients, let's skip to the end. Let's really see what it is what we want to be doing whilst we're here and with who. What are we ready to no longer put up with? What is our purpose? What is our path? What makes us smile, and equally what doesn't? What makes us laugh? Who makes us laugh? Who do we really enjoy being around and who not? Yes, these are mighty questions and require time to ponder or not. What if the answers have always been there? What if we've masked them with the noise of life, the fastness of everything, the convenience and instant nature of it all? What if the answers have got a bit bored, whispering and getting all shouty in the form of physical pains, persistent niggles, tormenting thoughts on a loop, a focus on all that we are not as opposed to who we already are? And what if we skip to the end, see our final breath and consider the question, was this a full life? I suspect that this is my final incarnation. I'm going to do a whole other piece of writing on that. I believe that all of my lifetime's learnings and lessons have contributed hugely to this one. This is why I am choosing to make every single moment count, every single day. Riding this roller coaster that we call life, falling off spectacularly and getting up each and every time, even when I don't feel like it. Most importantly, those times that I really don't feel like it. Little did I know that this path was to unfold in a way that feels like a dream. Getting up each and every day to help people to help themselves, to live life fully on their terms with an identity and responsibility of their choosing. Having reflexology after we lost Dad always seemed to fill a gaping dad-shaped hole, which led to studying this phenomenal, life-changing modality, which led to doing it full-time, which led to doing fertility reflexology on myself, which led to Olive. The next steps always presenting in perfect timing. Always been on a course, learning, sharing and delivering, deepening my offerings so that I can support others to tune into the part of themselves, a part where all the answers and wisdom already resides. It's a felt feeling, not a known knowing, and that can be hard to comprehend sometimes. When we feel like we've turned the key to open up this guidance, if only for a smidgen, the wisdom ensures that we're met with the step that we are needing to keep evolving and growing. In cliche terms, to trust the process, to fall and get back up again and again. This is the work that I now get to do, supporting women to reconnect with themselves, to remember their dreams, to decide what they are no longer willing to put up with, and to choose what life gets to look like from there, guided by their own wisdom, their inner knowing, the quiet, sometimes shouty voice within. For some, it's having a baby or extending their family. For others, it's leaving a job, starting a business, turning a hobby passion into profit, getting fit, leaving a relationship or beginning one, buying a home, writing a book, speaking on a stage, setting up a group or a club, running a race, a business or a family. And sometimes it's simply having the tools to navigate everyday life with more ease, clarity and calm, learning how to respond or react to life situations with truth, integrity and discernment, to develop a quiet confidence, tuning in who we really are, remembering what we want and what we want to let go of. What if we're never meant to have the plan or the map? What if everything we need just meets us at the next step? That next step that we are courageous or brave enough to take? What if what I love to call this is walking without the map, being guided from within? So to this end, my second Substack offering, I send thanks to my dad, John Lewis Butler, JB, JLB, Butty, wherever you are. The dad-shaped hole that was left when you departed got a bit easier when I had my reflexology treatments. We sometimes say that time is a healer. For me, time is a teacher. Little did I know how this journey would evolve, but I'm loving every single moment, starting over every single day, meeting the day where it's at. Dad, you gifted me the biggest love of life. You taught me how to find fun in absolutely everything. The baton I run with, one end held tightly and the other, that's for Olive to grab onto. Dad, you'd love her so much. She's you in an 8-year-old's body. Till we meet again, keep surprising me, showing me the signs that I'm doing okay. And yes, that does include another surprise appearance on our landing and in Zoom calls where, interestingly, we've never set to record. Funny that. If you're still here listening, thank you so much for listening to the end. I hope that you get to gain something from this and to take away the certainty that we're not here forever and none of us are guaranteed tomorrow as we know it today.